Greetings, actives. It's great to be with you. Welcome to the December Founders Zoom. As always, I'm joined by David Brown. I'm Ryan Thompson. For those of you who don't know me, welcome to Actives. For all of you new distributors and for all of you seasoned vets, welcome as well. We are here officially closing out the year 2025, the last month of the year. It's hard to believe, David, it's December. A lot to talk about as we close 2025. It's been a historic year in so many ways for us. Was literally a historic year, and then we also have many, I would say, small victories that we like to look at for 2025. So today, for all of you who are new, what David and I like to do is we like to share highlights of the previous month and give you a sneak peek on what's coming down the pipeline. Today might be a little bit different because we have a whole year to talk about. And we have a whole year to talk about that's upcoming, the 2026. So welcome all of you here, and once again, for those of you who are new, on the 15th of every month, we like to do this. We do this in Spanish and in English. Please share this Zoom with people who you're talking to about Actives so that they can get to know us a little bit, find out a little bit about the guys that founded this company. And hopefully, what we say will resonate with those who are out there looking for more options in life, options in how to and solutions to problems on how to improve their health and wellness, and also how to improve your financial situation, because we have a pretty outstanding business opportunity associated with being a distributive active. So you're all in the right place at the right time. Fasten your seatbelts and let's get this started. David, happy December. How are you doing? You just recently got back from Asia. You've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to pass the mic to you.
A lot to talk about, Ryan. Happy holidays, everybody. It's great to be here with you today. Yes, indeed. December 15th, 2025. How did we get here so quickly? It seems like we were
Mhm.
just starting the year just a few weeks ago, and here we are. Sometimes people say that a sign that you're getting older is that you continually talk about how fast time goes by. And I guess I'm totally guilty of that because it just seems to scream by.
Yeah.
And indeed, as we close our eighth year of existence as actives, it really is amazing to look back and think about where we've come from, what we've accomplished, and what we still have to accomplish, what's before us. 2025, as you just alluded to, has been a year of tremendous challenges, tremendous opportunities. New doors have been opened. Wonderful people have joined us in some of the existing markets, well, in all of the existing markets and in new markets that, frankly, at the beginning of the year, we didn't even anticipate going into. We weren't talking
Yeah.
about China. We weren't talking about the Philippines. We weren't talking about Taiwan at the beginning of the year. And isn't it interesting that our company, just like all of you, cannot necessarily predict who is going to be interested in actives.
Oh,
And that's why we want to share it with everybody. And we have got a lot of great initiatives that have just begun that will carry us into 2026 that we'll talk more about. But I'm excited. And
yeah.
I think that the challenges actually often lead to greater efficiencies, to new, fresh ideas of doing things. And I think that's certainly true of us here at Actives. And so I'm not one of these people that says, oh, I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, there's some things I would change looking back. But overall, I'm really happy about the things that we've been able to accomplish in 2025. And more than anything else, for the wonderful experiences that we've had in meeting all of you and hearing your stories, your active stories, and how it's changed your lives, whether it be from an economic standpoint or a health standpoint, or simply your joy in becoming part of a group that of people that think about the world the same way you do and wanting to make a difference. And so that's what's been exciting, and we have a lot to talk about. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, David. And yeah, that's you really said a lot without saying it. How can we summarize 2025? And not just the challenges, but just all the events, all the the ups and the downs and the sideways. And what's incredible is we've beaten the odds as a company. Growing double-digit growth each year since our inception. We'll see how we end up, how we close this year. but it's been quite a ride. And we have beaten the odds. We have 100% beaten the odds. We had the odds stacked against us. And for those of you, I think most people listening to this, they don't know. Many of you were not around when we started this company, and to use the phrase "we had the odds stacked against us" is an understatement. Launching a company without teams of people with pre-built organizations, or people, without distributor leaders who didn't already have high ranks. None of them had high ranks. It was a very small group of hungry individuals who wanted to make a difference, and saw this opportunity, saw the scientific technology and the developments that came from Pathways Bioscience from Dr. Joe McCord, Brooks Hybertson, Dr. Gao, as something novel and something the whole world needed to hear. And so, having understanding the potential there and then deciding to hitch their wagon to us, that was great, but it really didn't give us many advantages over any other company. We were immediately hit with a lot of opposition out of our first country that we launched in, Mexico. It was as if the country, and it was as if the competition did not, of course, did not want us to see the light of day. So we overcame a lot of obstacles, and I'll say that after 8 years, we often don't. We usually don't ever congratulate ourselves, but we should congratulate ourselves, David, because um, it is not easy to build a company, to survive and to thrive 8 years into this, to be a company that does generates, say, $50 million a year. Not anyone can boast of that, right? You can't just wake up and say, "Yeah, I think we'll do $50 million a year next year," or we'll start a company. I mean, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of vision, a lot of investment early on, and so we've had the right things happen. We've been the recipients of a lot of incredible blessings have come our way. And I'm sorry to say that sometimes we have taken those for granted, starting with me. I'm going to work hard to not take those things, all the small victories that we have, and the small blessings, to not take those for granted. So I'm very grateful for where we're at, and to be ending, closing out 2025, it's a huge accomplishment for us. Um, I think that for me, rather than going and trying to summarize everything from the year, some of the highlights, David, that stand out for me, obviously, just last month we had and we mentioned it in our last Founders Zoom, but we had our eighth anniversary event. We did a number of things. We had some, VIP speakers, some guests with us. We had the president of Pathways Bioscience there with us in Mexico City, Dr. Brooks Hybertson. It was good to have him there. And for those of you who weren't there, many of you English speakers probably were not there. The event was all in Spanish, but we wanted to have Dr. Hybertson with us. He is Dr. McCord and Dr. Gao's partner. We have a long history with him, and he certainly, and Pathways Bioscience developed genomics, right? They are the creators of genomics. They are the foremost authorities on all things Nerf2 activation. There really are not scientists more qualified than those scientists in the field of anti-aging, and specifically as it relates to epigenetics and stimulating the expression of genes, both in up-regulating as well as down-regulating. And so it was an honor to have him with us. He was there with us at our first anniversary, David, if you recall. And I think he came to another event fall shortly after that. But it's been a while since he'd stepped on Mexican soil. Years earlier, he and I traveled to the University of Oaxaca when they were involved in a research study studying genomics' impact, or the impact that Nerf2 activation would have with breast cancer patients, if you recall, and then that turned into a study on lung cancer. And so that was exciting to have him, but that was probably 5 or 6 years ago now. So again, to have him there last month with us was meaningful, not just an honor, but it was meaningful. I think for everybody that was there at the event, meaningful for our distributors who are all there as well, recognizing that, the foundation of ACTIVZ is one of scientific advancement. It's one built on scientific technology. And I think without that, we probably wouldn't be here. I mean, I would just say I don't think we would be here if not for that scientific foundation that we have. So it was meaningful to have him with us. He contributed, and for those of you who missed it, David and I started the event. We kicked the event off, both of us on stage, and then we had Dr. Hybertson come out and join us, and we didn't really have him prepare a presentation. I liked the format, David. It was fun because we kind of asked him some questions, and we asked him questions that we have gotten all the time over the years, and we had him respond, and it was more of a casual, less formal approach to it. But I think our distributors appreciated it. They appreciated listening to him talk about potency and talk about the potency of genomics relative and in comparison to all other formulas that exist in the marketplace. And he talked about some basics as well, which was just basic understanding of nerve 2 activation, how it relates to, for example, reducing oxidative stress, and how that relates to reducing inflammation. Inflammation being a foothold for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of major disease and illnesses. So what we're doing, it really represents not just relevance today, but it's really the future of wellness, the future of medicine. And so I think it was evident to everybody sitting in the audience that that this is now, right? That what we're listening to is not we're not listening about anything to do with the past or history, but this is the future. And to catch a glimpse of the future of wellness, and I don't want to say healthcare, but how we take care of ourselves is just incredibly important. And at ACTIVZ, that's where we are. We are positioned at the forefront of all things relevant that have to do with really the anti-aging process and understanding how to, in some cases, mitigate the negative effects of the aging process. I got to be careful with what I say here, not to make product claims here on our founders Zoom, but it was really special, and I thought that that was really a highlight for me. I switching gears completely. Some of you may have seen, and if you haven't seen it, go to our social media, right? And start checking out, because any day now we're going to be delivering a car and a quad, some bicycles and some scooters to people who qualified for and won them. They won this raffle that we did down in Mexico City. And the people who won this new car, brand new car that we bought for them. And why did we buy it? We bought it as a reward for people to register to attend the event. So that's all you had to do was register for the event. And I think you had to enroll, you had 6 months to enroll somebody. But the people who won this, and I want everyone to hear this because it's really cool. The young couple, they were new to ACTIVZ, well, relatively new. I want to say that they were A3, David, or were they A6? They're either A3 or were
I
they
think they're an A6.
A6? Okay.
I think in 3 months they'd become
3
A6.
months. That's where the three comes from. Okay, so yeah, I think you're right. Took them 3 months to get to A6, so they generated about $10,000 a month in product sales within their organization, which is nothing to sneeze at. I'm borrowing that phrase from you, David. Um, but they're a young couple, and they really need a new car. They live in Acapulco. Now, when you and I talk about Acapulco, we think about awesome beaches and vacation resorts, and not for people that live there. For locals who live there, it's a struggle. And I will just respectfully and as diplomatically as I can say that this couple definitely needed this car. And so it was awesome to see a couple like this win a new car. And imagine what they're going to do with these videos. Imagine how they're going to parlay this new car and these videos into new business for themselves. And I would encourage all of you watching this video right now, go online in the next probably the next week or two, you're going to see videos popping up of us. I think a couple staff members are going to be there at their house delivering this car to this young couple. Guys, take that video and I'm going to challenge you all right now at the top of this call. Capitalize on that. Convert that into business, right? Translate that into new business for you. Share it with people you know, share it with your warm market, share it with your cold market, post it on your social media feeds, and talk about what your business does. Because not every company in the world is giving out free cars, is giving out quads, is giving out these things. And that's simply for registering and attending a corporate event. So I think that that's a great way to introduce the business, to talk about epigenetics. It's a great door opener. So that's what I would do if I was in all of your place. I would look for videos like that in that specific video, and I'd share it with probably 300 or 400 people, right? And then I'd spend the following months just following up with those people who I'd shared the video with. So anyway, there's a tip for all of you, but that's probably the highlight for me, David, of this last month. We had some good rank, some incredible rank advancements. We had a woman out of Houston, Texas, Raquel, hit A10 just after, I would say, between two, probably less than 3 months. So $50,000 a month in sales in less than 3 months is incredibly exciting. I think she's going to do great things, and she's really getting Texas on the map in a lot of ways. She has business both in Texas, both in the U.S. and Mexico. But she was a highlight for me also, just to kind of listen to these new people who are joining ACTIVZ. They could go anywhere. They could go anywhere in the world. They could join any network marketing company in the world because she's got a ton of experience and a lot of people that follow her. And she chose to come to ACTIVZ. And maybe I'll talk more about her in a moment, but it was exciting to have her on stage for the first time at one of our corporate events and talk about why she chose to be at ACTIVZ when she could have gone anywhere, right? And it really says a lot for the uniqueness of what our value proposition is, right? And what ACTIVZ represents, that we're attracting leaders like that. So, anyways, I can just keep going for another 2 or 3 hours, David. I want to find out from you what were some of your highlights from this last month?
Well, some of them are the same. One thing to reiterate in regards to Dr. Hyberson, even though the presentation style was a little different from the very first time he spoke at our ribbon cutting event 8 years ago, the message was the same, that genomics remains the most potent Nerf2 activator in the world. And he reiterated that. And he explained a little bit more detail why that is the case. And so that was exciting for people. I think it's not, I'll put my lawyer hat on. We can say without reservation that there is the anti-aging theory, or the oxidative stress theory of anti-aging, that most scientists and most researchers believe that aging and all of the problems, or at least most of the problems associated with aging, come from oxidative stress, this imbalance of free radicals to those antioxidant enzymes that we have in our body. And Nerf2 is something that really has a powerful effect upon that. I think that what you said about taking things for granted is also true. You mentioned that I just got back from Asia, and I visited the Philippines and I visited Hong Kong to visit with some of our new Chinese distributors. Speaking of the Philippines, in Mexico City, we recognize two of our Filipino leaders that flew
Right?
in from the Philippines, new A10s, who have
Yeah,
become A10s in about 3 months' time.
incredible.
Very, very excited. And what's interesting, going back to the idea of taking things for granted, I know sometimes if we've been in the company for very long, we think, oh, we've talked about genomics, we've talked about oxidative stress so much, and I'm kind of bored, I'm kind of tired of talking about the same thing. But I can tell you what's really exciting the people in China and the people in the Philippines and the people in Taiwan is the idea of a Nerf2 activator, because scientists and news organizations are talking increasingly in those countries about Nerf2 and its effect upon overall health. And just remember this, if someone has never heard about it, and most of the people that you know in your lives will never have heard about Nerf2, will know nothing about oxidative stress. So even though it might seem old hat or an old story to you, it's brand new to them. And so I would liken it to, this time of year, sometimes we go to school plays, we go we watch the Christmas Carol, we watch movies. Well, actors that are on stage, they might be in the same play every day for 5 years, and the script never changes. and they have a challenge to make it fresh to every new audience who's never heard this before and get them excited about it. And so they don't, the actors don't say, "Oh, I'm tired of that script. I don't want to do that. I've been doing that every day for 5 years. I want a new script." It's like, well, no, that's not, you got to stick to the script because this is a story. And I think that's one thing as we go into 2026. We need to remember that our script, our story is powerful, is new to almost everyone. And people will get just as excited about it when they hear about it for the first time as you did. So keep it fresh, remembering that you got to hit your marks just like actors have to hit their marks. They have to be in a certain place at a certain time and say a certain thing. And while there is no magic language, there's no magic formula, there is a system. And as you introduce it to people, they will get excited. And I think also, going to this story about this couple, it really was fun, and I think brought everyone to tears to think of this young couple celebrating their anniversary at the same time we were celebrating our anniversary and being lucky enough to win that car. Well, of course, not everyone in that audience won a car. But one thing that we can promise everyone is just as when they take genomics or any of our products, every single time you take it, they will produce the benefit that we say they will. And every single time you enroll someone, every time you build your business, the compensation plan, which I believe is the richest in the industry. That's the other thing that these new markets are so excited about. They're excited about a company that pays out over 50% on their compensation plan, and because they've been used to companies that pay a fraction of that,
Yeah.
and they are very excited about really getting a fair return for their efforts. And we know it's hard. And so as we go in and the end of the year, we always look back, but we look forward when we start making resolutions. And sometimes resolutions scare people, but I can say that if one of your resolutions, one of your goals is to make things a little bit easier for you and your family this year by having, a few hundred more dollars, $1,000, $10,000, just stick to that script, introduce people, follow that success guide every day, just like an actor follows a script every single night that they perform. And I think we'll find that there's a complete and utter revolution in your business, and you'll find that you're succeeding in ways that you otherwise didn't see. But those are the kind of things that stood out to me as we look back, and then more specifically at the event.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's great. And if we had more time, we could go into, the previous month, and I think listening to you talk, David, we had a remarkable year. Actually, when I think of some of the people who joined us this last year, some of their accomplishments, it was really incredible. So let's talk a little bit about what's next. We're in the month of December. Obviously, closing out the year, many of you are running hard to requalify to your highest earn rank or to rank advance for the first time because you want to earn a Punta Cana, an all expense paid trip for two to Punta Cana coming up this next year. And I just want to say a couple of words about that because I learned a long time ago that the holidays, and here in the US, it's winter for us. I understand that some of you where it might be living somewhere else that it's not winter for you, but whenever we come to this time of year where there's a lot of holidays and a lot of distractions, so Christmas, New Year's, here in the US, Thanksgiving, um, there's a lot of I'll just call it distractions. And some people view those as obstacles, and they say, "Oh boy, well, I'm going to take a break and refocus on my business after the new year. Come January, February, I'll get going again." And I learned years ago from a mentor that if you lose momentum, you don't work to regain it. You just have to start over. And he said, "So whatever you do, don't lose momentum. And the way you avoid losing momentum is with this analogy that I'm going to share with you." I was just a second ago looking at my screen trying to find this picture, but he said, imagine you have a rubber band, right? And you stretch that rubber band back and then you let it fly, right? It goes either, right in front of you or it can go really far. But he said, stretching the rubber band back is tantamount to working during this holiday period of time. So November, December, January. So the more you share, the more you plant seeds at Christmas gatherings or dinners or parties or activities at your kid's school or the church or whatever. You're planting seeds, you're talking to people, you're sending them videos, you're sharing them, giving them samples of products to try. You're doing whatever you need to do to continue your business. But the more you do that, it is tantamount to pulling back this rubber band, right? The more you do, the more you do, well, the farther the rubber band's going to go. And what he taught me is the more your business is going to grow in the coming months, right? In the spring. So March, April, May. And he said people think a lot incorrectly that if your business is exploding and you're just growing and you're rank advancing in the months that where there are fewer distractions, right? Like March, April, May, June, right? Those months are great growth months. Growth doesn't have to do with what you're necessarily doing during those months. It has everything to do with what you did in November, December, and January, right? In other words, how far did you stretch that rubber band back? And so if you want the rubber band to go far, right? As far as it can possibly go. And if, in other words, if you want to grow and you want to be hitting new ranks and you want to be qualifying for our incentive trip, our all expense uh, uh, paid trip for two to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, if you want that, has everything to do with what you do today. It's what you do this month, right? It's how many people are you sharing with? It's how many seeds are you planting, right? To continue to borrow that analogy. So think about the analogy of stretching back that rubber band. Because I want you all to grow. I want as many of you who are listening to us tonight, I want you to all have a real fighting chance to qualify to go with us, David and I, and a few of our best friends and family, down to the Republic, the DR. I can't think of a better way to kick off 2026 than an all expense paid trip to the Dominican Republic. And if you haven't been to Punta Cana, it's incredible. It's not like Cancun. It's not like Puerto Vallarta. It's not like some of the places that we know in Mexico. Completely different culture. It's the Caribbean. It's not Latin America technically, and it's got its own vibe, its own flavors. We've been there once. David, I don't know if you've been there more than the time that you and I went years ago with some of our ACTIVZ family, but it was probably my favorite trip that we've ever taken here at ACTIVZ. So I encourage you all to want that, right? Uh, Tell your spouse, hey, you know what? Why don't we go spend a week on the company's dime, right? And let's build our business and let's earn this trip. Make that a family goal so that you and your family can work on that together. So the way you do that is by stretching that rubber band, guys. It's not waiting until after Christmas. It's not, or the holidays, not waiting until after New Year's. It's taking advantage of the fact that you're getting together with friends and family. And you know what? If you don't want to be a pest and you don't want to bother people, I don't like bothering people. But you know what I do all the time? I talk about what I do, right? I talk about my work. People ask me all the time. And then once I start talking about that, they ask me about the products. And I every day, every time I get together with people that I know, we end up talking about the ACTIVZ products, the ACTIVZ opportunity for entrepreneurs, right? Or I'm talking about the company and I'm talking about my trips. I talk about things that I do. It's not hard. It's natural, guys. It's quite easy. Well, that is what planting seeds is all about. Because if I was prospecting and if I was looking for new business partners, I would just do more of that. And to avoid feeling like a pest, and this is another tip. So I want you all to listen to this carefully. This is really important. Learn the art of asking for referrals. And I say the art because I think that it is an art. I think you can learn how to do it naturally, so that it's inobtrusive. You don't offend people. You don't feel like you're like this, the annoying uncle who's always talking about his business, or brother, or son, or a brother-in-law, or I guess if you're a woman, mother-in-law, or sister-in-law, whatever. Um, you can avoid that by practicing asking for referrals. And I actually recommend this, and you ought to try this closing out this year and set a goal to do this as many times possible during 2026. I promise you'll see a difference in your business. But don't even lead by talking about what you do. lead, when I say lead, I mean what you first talk about. When you talk about actives or what you're excited about, that's important to share what you're excited about. Then ask, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody who's an entrepreneur or who would be open to working from home or from their car or from their cell phone or from their treehouse, wherever you want to, or from the beach, wherever you want to be? Do you know anyone who's an entrepreneur like that? Or do you know anybody who's interested in really improving their health and is earnestly looking for solutions to problems? Because if you are, I would love it if you wouldn't mind introducing me to them or giving me their information and allowing me to share that you and I that you're our common friend. Things like that. When I say master the art of asking for referrals, that's how you do it. That's all I'm talking about. And I'll tell you, when you do that, guess what you stop being? You stop being a pest. And people don't think about you. Oh, here he goes again. Ryan's gonna pitch me on his deal again. He's gonna come talk to me about his project. He's gonna talk to me about, I think it's called ACTIVZ, right? No, take the pressure off of them. Don't even ask them if they're interested. Ask them who they know, right? Because I'll tell you, in my experience, people are quick and ready to give you one or two or three or four or five names of people who they know who used to be involved in Herbalife or Shackley or Nu Skin or who were successful starting their own business, with selling online mattresses online or whatever. And when they give you those referrals, that's now a qualified referral, right? Write that word down if you can. It's a qualified, it's pre-qualified. Pre-qualified meaning that person is not a cold contact. You know that they have done something. You know they've been successful. You know that there's interest there because the person with whom you're speaking is qualifying that person for you. Does that make sense? They're pre-qualifying that person. So now you have a pre-qualified lead to follow up with, right? And statistically, there is and I don't want to put out there any wrong numbers, but I want to say it's in the 80 percentile of probability that that person will do something because pre-qualified leads are far more productive to people to talk to than someone who you just meet in a grocery store or that you're prospecting at your child's school or in your church parking lot or whatever you happen to be. So master the art of asking for referrals, right? If you do that now during these winter months, right, when kids are out of school, this is you stretching back that rubber band. Now, here comes my promise. I promise that if you do that, right, and you add that to part of your business plan, your daily plan of action, right, that you're following during this month, the month of December, January, that your business is going to grow. February, March, April, May, June, you'll be hitting a brand new rank, a rank that you thought you'd never hit. Or maybe you thought you'd hit it, but you didn't think you'd hit it so soon. So do that, stretch that rubber band, grow in the springtime, and remember that growth is dependent on what you do now, this month, not then, but now. So, anyways, I kind of went on. That was a long little training vignette. I wasn't planning on doing that, David, but I thought, hey, we're in December. People are going to be getting together at these Christmas parties, and there's just a tip on what you ought to do to really capitalize on this moment.
Absolutely. And as my closing comment, I'd like to double down on that. It's pretty easy this time of year. Think about it. If you are in a winter area with snow, people are out shoveling snow and people are complaining about that and how sore they feel. And it's pretty easy to work in, an optimum thing. If we're all eating way too much. So it's really easy
Yeah.
to work in something about link. We're all feeling stress and say, well, there's stress and there's oxidative stress. I mean, you really don't have to force it. Or even, one thing I like about my company, or even talking about the fact that you were able to have a
Mhm.
little bit nicer Christmas because of the money that you made with your company. And so I think that those kind of conversations can arise naturally without, saying, "Oh, hey, now that I've got you here, I've always wanted to talk to you about this company." I mean, yeah, that's just kind of, icky.
Now that I've cornered you in our
You know,
aunt's kitchen, yeah.
Exactly. But I do think that there are natural occasions. If it's top of mind for you, it's easy to work into a conversation. I get asked about things all the time. And the one thing whether they whether they want ultimately to join the company or not, one thing they do know by my response is that I believe strongly in our products. I believe strongly in our company, and that usually kind of piques their interest about some other things. So I totally agree with Ryan. I've seen it in action. People that do take action during these months, come March. Come April, they actually kind of sometimes they're surprised to think, man, what happened? I'm not sure why I grew so much. And then when they really think about it, they realize that they didn't take this time off. They actually used it as an opportunity. So I'm looking forward to, Travelocity has their gnome, and the gnome appears everywhere. I'm really interested in hearing about your stories. So my email is dbrown@activz.com. I'd love to hear about your stories about what you do during this holiday period, during this stretching the rubber band time, kind of things that maybe you surprised yourself that you weren't sure you had the courage to do, or you were surprised that it came up. I'd love to hear those stories. So as you get out and do it, let me know. And then we'll share them with other people as well. So, on that
Awesome.
note, we hope you have a great holiday season. We know that the best gifts are those that don't wear out and that don't break and that are meaningful. And we urge you to share not just actives, but the best part of everything, which is to let people know that you really do care about them and love them and that you're there for them. And sometimes that will include actives, sometimes it won't. But they'll know that you're there for them authentically and genuinely and continually. And on that note, we hope you all have a wonderful and Merry Christmas, and we'll look forward to some wonderful things to talk about a month from now as
All
we've
right.
closed 2025 and we're embarking on 2026.
Yeah.
Ryan?
Great. All right. Thanks, Dave. And I'm not I've got some other closing thoughts that I'm gonna give, but I appreciate your perspective and close. And I just want to say this in closing is uh, we get asked a lot, David and I and other members of the team, what's your vision for actives, right? And we talk about this a lot. And I often say we talk about our vision all the time. In fact, every time I speak on stage, I talk about the vision, and people just want, what's the vision? What's the vision? And when we launched the company, our vision it hasn't changed much, but it was slightly different. Back then, it was we want to get out of the gate. We're going to launch first in Mexico. We're going to make a new history in Mexico. We're going to turn the industry on its head. We're going to launch an omni-channel company, and we're gonna introduce epigenetics to the world. Epigenetics is a stake in the stand that we own. That's us. Or the stake in the sand that we're placing, right? That was, and we're gonna bring this world of this the wellness message to the entire world. And I'll say that today maybe it's slightly different because it continues to be all those things. But David talked about how he just got back from Asia. Really, the vision that we have, and I want you to all really have a vision for yourself of what you want to achieve. But we look at the world in terms of not just opportunities, but not just in terms of how many people can we get to use genomics or the trifecta, right, or the products, but I look at it in terms of how many product lines out there can be epigenetic. Can we design to have elicited an epigenetic response? And how many countries are out there? 170, 220. I mean, there's a lot. 220 territories and countries, I think, right? We've barely scratched the surface here in actives. And just going to close by talking about this. We just launched Everyday Actives, right? Some of you are aware of Everyday Actives coffee line. And some people are saying, why did you launch coffee? That's strange. That's so different than the trifecta, so different than the genomics. And it's true, it is different, right? Those are Genomics is 100% epigenetic, right? It influences the expression of genes, and how those genes express. Link is epigenetic, Optimend is epigenetic. Each of our products has an epigenetic response. But we launched beauty coffee, right? I want to remind everyone that our Everyday Actives coffee line is beauty coffee because when we look out there, we say the nutritional supplement industry is, I mean, it's I just looked up a statistic. It says between 200 to 400 billion dollars a year. So I guess that means it's about 300 billion dollars a year. Quite a range there. The coffee industry globally is about 285 billion dollars a year that we have not been competing in. And so our vision right? Part of our vision now, after 8 years, is to open up more doors for you. And we had just identified a product that 98% of households consume, and we were not competing in that. So our vision is for more doors to be open to you, right? More opportunities to be open to you, and so that you can take sort of the good news and the message around epigenetics to the world. Our vision is to get into new markets, right? I'll tell you this, if you're earning a residual check with Actives right now, your next goal would be to diversify that, diversify it amongst products, amongst countries. Do you sell just one product into one country, or are you marketing 6 or 8 products into 6 or 8 countries? And the extent to which your residual check is diversified, come from different sources, it really is going to define whether or not that is something secure and stable. So my vision, I'll tell you, say for you, for each one of you listening to this, is that you have a residual income that comes from multiple countries, from multiple different products, so that you could sit back and say, okay, I really am insulated from the fluctuations of a volatile economy, right? We all live in this world where there's a lot of questions and fears. So part of my vision, I'll say our vision, is to bring security and peace to your life, because security and peace comes through having a plan. And if you're planning with Actives, just know that we do have your best interests in mind, and we are here every day planning and working on strategies to protect you, to keep your economic well-being intact. And so make sure you take advantage of that, right? This is not a hobby, an expensive hobby for people. This is a viable business opportunity for people who are looking to hitch their wagon to something that's stable and is going to be here for the long haul. So we are going to be here. We're going to have a banner year, 2026, a historic year. David, you and I have been talking about this. I don't think either of us will be surprised when we double the size of the company this year in 2026. So for all of you watching this, that's what our vision is. It's to double the size of Actives this year, right? That's our short-term vision. Our long-term vision is to do much more than that. But why don't you join with us, right? So if you're up for it, if you want to really ratchet up your finances, ratchet up your lifestyle, um, go all in with us at Actives. Make Actives part of your goal. Allow us to be a vehicle for you to reach your goals and to realize your dreams. So, and those are my closing words. So that said, we're got another 2.5 hours ahead of it. No, I'm kidding. That said, we'll be here same time, same place next year, next month, January 15th. It will be just one month, but it'll also be next year. And so we wish you all the very best of luck and success until then. And as always, we'll see you soon, and we'll see you at the top. Thank you, David. Thanks, everybody. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thanks,
Happy
everyone.
December. Merry Christmas.